This is the midday news here on 3FM 92.7. Coming up this afternoon, NPP stages the Instro Ehunehuna protest in Sunyani today over protests of party officials. Also, Ghana Immigration Service rescues 606 undocumented migrants in the Ashanti region following a street begging crackdown. And much later, Foreign Affairs Ministry says it has commenced investigations into viral xenophobic-inspired confrontation of a Ghanaian by irate South Africans over his immigration status. These are our headlines and other stories. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. We're going to a first story where sources at the Ghana Foreign Affairs Ministry says a viral video showing a group of South Africans confronting and challenging a Ghanaian man about to stay in their country is being investigated. The incident has reignited conversations about the safety of African immigrants in South Africa. Now, the recurrent attacks over the years have targeted Africans from Nigeria, Zimbabwe, Malawi, Mozambique, Ghana, and others. Some of the attacks are carried out by thugs, leading to arson on foreign-owned shops, physical assault, and even death. Others are more confrontational, led by political groupings like March and March Movement and Operation Dudula. Apart from the ambition of African immigrants and demanding proof of legal stay or permits to work, these groups also embark on street demonstration and other forms of protest. Now, we know that Operation Dudula, an anti-immigration movement which morphed into a political party, blocked immigrants from accessing healthcare and schools in November 2025. We'll be exploring this issue further. First, let's listen to a video from the Ghanaian man being confronted by the South Africans.
Okay. Let's just start there. Why do you certify your passport in a foreign land?
You see, it was raining.
I follow you guys now on Facebook. How you?
It was raining these days. And when you go out with the passport, sometimes it gets spoiled. That's why I satisfy it so that it won't spoil.
Baba, Ghana don't do that.
Okay.
Ghana don't do that.
All right, sharp.
Ghana
Let me
is
show
the
you.
only African country that is.
Let me show you that when you are abusing our systems, ne? On the 10th of April, again, the 10th of April, you entered your country when? The very same day you came back. When? Yeah, it's a proof. Yeah. Proof. Yes, the proof.
That crocodile can't go.
You went to Ghana on the 10th, and then you came back.
No,
because here it says you exited Ghana to South Africa. When? Here it says you entered, here you exited. And it's the same date. It's the 10th of April, 10th of April.
This stamp you got there in Elof Street on the street. This is where you got the stamp.
Oh, they've got a connection here.
no.
I am telling you, that's where they buy it from.
And those were interactions from the viral video where we've seen that South Africans are confronting and challenging a Ghanaian man, questioning him about his stay in the country. Now, away from that, as we are monitoring and bringing you updates on that in a subsequent bulletin, but away from that, a coalition of 12 civil society organizations has moved to intervene at Ghana's Supreme Court following a series of legal developments concerning the independence of the Office of the Special Prosecutor. They warn that a High Court order on how the USP can exercise its prosecutorial powers could unravel 2 decades of anti-corruption progress and provide accused individuals with a ready means of escape. My colleague Deborah Amba Mensah explored this and has this report. And we'll bring you that report very shortly. But moving on to some other stories now, as the Ghana Immigration Service, through its Ashanti Regional Command, has conducted a major intelligence-led operation in the early hours of Tuesday, April 21, 2026, to rescue undocumented migrants from exploitative street begging networks in Kumasi. The swoop, which commenced at 3:30, targeted several identified hotspots where these networks were known to operate. A total of 606 individuals were rounded up during the exercise. Now, the group comprised of 381 children, 153 males, and 72 females. Now, the operation focused on key areas in the metropolis, including Asawase, Alaba, Akutia Line, Dagomba Line, Sabonzongo, and Abuabu. Now, many of those rescued are believed to be victims of organized human trafficking and forced begging, and the Ghana Immigration Service says the exercise is part of a broader nationwide campaign aimed at addressing the growing menace of organized street begging campaign. Now, we know that the nationwide campaign is aimed at addressing a growing menace of organized street begging networks across Ghana. Now, joining us on the phone line is Dr. James Kofi Annan. He's a survivor of child trafficking and the founder of Challenging Heights to combat child slavery and support at risk for children in Ghana. Sir, thank you so much for joining us. Now, as a survivor yourself, what goes through your mind when you hear of such operations like this?
Well, thank you, and my greetings to your listeners. Anytime I've heard of such swoops and rescues, it feels like the right thing being done, maybe too late or too little, because for every child rescued at this point, when the child has already been trafficked, many of them have wasted their childhoods. So it's good news, but we need to do more in order to prevent more from falling victims in the first place.
Right. You mentioned that we need to do more. Now, in your view, is Ghana's current social protection system equipped to handle such large-scale activities and rescues like this?
Not at all. Our child protection system is not fit for purpose. It needs a lot of work. At the moment, Ghana does not have adequate places or shelter.
You have just 1 minute remaining. You can dial.
And that was Dr. James Kofi Annan. He's a survivor from the of child trafficking and a founder for Challenging Heights. We are facing some technical challenges here, and we'll bring you more on that in our subsequent bulletin. But moving on to politics now, our supporters of the opposition New Patriotic Party in the Bono regional capital, the Sunyani, have staged a street protest today, a move that is expected to heighten political tensions in the region. The demonstration, dubbed Yensro Ehunehuna, meaning we are not afraid of intimidation, have drawn party supporters, sympathizers, and residents from across the region. The protest is in response of the arrest of the Sunyani East Communications Officer, Abubakar Yakubu, popularly known as Baba Amadu, an incident that party officials says has raised serious concerns about their members. Now, joining us on the phone line now is Bono Regional correspondent Claude Kumi Ebisa, who is on the ground and bringing us more updates on that. Claude, thank you so much for joining us. What more can you report from this demonstration?
Okay, well, as we speak, the party executive have just presented their petition to the RCC, but unfortunately the minister wasn't around to receive it. But the coordinating director, the deputy coordinating director, that is Madam Priska Adani, stood in and then received the petition on behalf of the minister, assuring them that it will be sent to the Jubilee House for the necessary action to be taken. But I was to speak, the whole thing started around 8 a.m., where they took to the streets of Sunyane, demonstrating amidst chanting and then waving placards, displaying their sentiments as to what is happening. All they are saying is that they are not happy with what is happening to them, especially when they come out to voice their concerns, and then they are being arrested. Therefore, they are appealing to the president, that is the NDC government, to tamper justice with mercy, to ensure that such things do not happen. What they are saying is if they do not adhere to that and they still arrest them, they will also advise themselves. So today I was able to also interact with the majority chief whip, that is Jerry Ahmed, who made the presentation, and then he's also saying that they will not relax. They will take everything to ensure that all they are supposed to do to ensure that they get justice, and then they are not intimidated. They'll go all out to ensure that this persecution ceases. So as we speak, they've just presented it, and then they are departing.
Right. So what has been the reaction from the capital? What has been the reaction from the capital about this protest that was ongoing?
Okay. The place, as we speak at the moment, the place is a little calm. It's like it took them by surprise. They are not really aware that something of this sort is going to happen. So as you walk through it, people will be asking, what is happening? And then you rather have to explain to them that this is what is happening. So I think people are not really aware of what is happening here at the moment. So as we speak, everything is cool. The place is calm. The demonstrators also comported themselves. Security was intact, and everything is successful as we speak.
Thank you so much. And that was Bruno East Regional correspondent Claude Kumi Ebusa bringing us updates from the NPPC and Stro Ehunehuna protests, where they are raising concerns about some arrests of their party officials. Now, away from that, the Minister for Labour, Jobs and Employment, Dr. Rashid Pelpu, has reaffirmed government's commitment to clamp down on illegal recruitment agencies operating across the country in the coming weeks. According to the minister, the move forms part of broader efforts to protect Ghanaian workers from exploitation, particularly those seeking employment opportunities abroad, while also promoting the principle of decent work.
At the official launch of the Professional International Recruiters Association Ghana, PIRAG in Accra, the Minister for Labour, Jobs and Employment, Dr. Rashid Pelpu, highlighted the persistent challenges faced by Ghanaian migrant workers. He noted that many are subjected to poor working conditions and various forms of abuse after being recruited under questionable circumstances. A 2024 report by Afrobarometer indicates that 61% of Ghanaians immigrate in search of better job opportunities. In response, the Ministry of Labour, Jobs and Employment is partnering with the Professional International Recruiters Association Ghana and ensure ethical recruitment practices. Dr. Rashid Pelpu is the Minister for Labour, Jobs and Employment.
Government has observed the presence of unregulated actors within parts of the recruitment system. And I've insisted all the time that we want to make sure regulations touch every single person, every single company that seeks to send a Ghanaian out of this country for work.
Meanwhile, the president of the Professional International Recruiters Association Ghana, Charles Quainin, says the initiative will help close critical gaps in the protection of workers' rights and promote transparency within the recruitment sector.
The exploitation, abuse, and human rights abuses of Ghanaian migrant workers. So PIRAG has been established to work with the government of Ghana, the Labour Department, and the private employment agencies or recruiters association, so that will protect the Ghanaian migrant workers.
That was a report by our Labour correspondent Daniel Opoku. Now, away from that, some other stories as research findings by the Legon Center for Education Research and Policy shows that thousands of Ghanaian students who register for the WASI never show up to write the exam, exposing a growing gap between increased school enrollment and the actual completion. Now, despite major investment under the free senior high school policy, absenteeism has quietly risen, leaving thousands of young people without certification and costing the state millions of wasted education spending. Now we'll go on the phone lines now to speak to Dr. Innocent Sefaji Komla Agbeli, a member of the research committee of the Legon Center for Education Research and Policy on more on this development. Doc, thank you so much for joining us and good afternoon to you. Now, what more can you provide us regarding this research?
Right. Good afternoon to you and your cherished listeners. Yes, so this is something that the Legon Center for Education Research and Policy put up. So we usually channel these alerts concerning issues in our educational sector, and the center headed by Dr. Clement Adamba as a director and the research fellows, we picked up on this. We actually monitored the data from WAEC, and then we realized that absenteeism is on the rise. From around 2016 to 2017, when the free SHS policy actually kicked in, the absenteeism was around 0.6% at the time. As at 2024-2025, it increased to around 1.3%. And given the absolute values, though the percentages may be low, the absolute values actually are around 1,700 plus to around 5,800 plus. Now, the implication of this is what we have tried to actually estimate. So it is found out that each student attracts about 1,147 Ghana cedis. That is the amount that is spent on each student per academic year, according to the pre-SHS policy. Now, looking at this amount per student, if you take the 3 years that the student has actually, gone through the SHS system, that will come to crudely around 3,441 per student over the 3 years. And this cost actually covers feeding, tuition fee, and then examination registration. That's the terminal exam, WASI. So if students actually fail to write the exam after they have been registered, it calls for critical questions into this. So we actually just did a conservative analysis to look at the number of students that have absented themselves from the final examination, and it is not so conclusive in the document that we have what accounts for this absenteeism. That is something that the center is seeking to explore further. But then this number of absenteeism that increased to around 5,821 in 2024, led to a total loss of about 20 million for only 2024-2025 academic year. If you take it through 2020-2021 academic year all the way to 2024-2025 academic year, the total cost is around 69.5 million Ghana cedis. Yeah, that is what the center actually came out with. It's a crude calculation. We know that the real cost would be less if you take into account the fact that some students perhaps may go back to write the exams in the subsequent years, but then this nominal cost is what government accrues if students fail, to turn up and write the final exam.
Right. So for clarity, this is with regards to the students who register for WASI and do not show up.
Exactly.
Yes.
Students who have registered, and it's an automatic registration, from the free SHS policy. So like I said, that per student, investment covers the tuition, the feeding, and the final examination. So this is with respect to those who have been registered, but they have not, written the final exams.
Doc, finally, have you engaged some of the students, which may sound or may be a little bit difficult to do, but those who did register, what could have been the reason? And what are some of the recommendations to curb this as we go forward in the near future?
Right. So that is a nice call that the center is hoping to take forward, and then engage in a tracer call and visit some of the districts, and then try to find out from students that have not been able to write their exams. Once we can get their details from the schools, we will trace them and then see what we can find out. I know it is in the literature scantily that some causes have been attributed to this, including teenage pregnancy. Some of the students who were cut out, due to adverse weather conditions and all that, they couldn't write. We also picked up in the media that some students couldn't also arrange accommodations. Accommodations were not arranged for some students that had to travel from some communities to the examination centers and all that. So these are some of the reasons out there, but then we are taking the step further to investigate this, and get to the root of this. Now, what the government can do, we are proposing that a pre-examination risk tracking mechanism be put in place where schools and districts, officers can actually check these schools and make sure that students that are showing signs of missing the final examination can be, a remedy can be built around there so that, we prevent such things. And then we also call on the schools, to actually compile. After the exams, they should compile the list of students and then try to get the reasons why they have not been able to take the final exam. This will be a very critical data that can guide WAEC and GES at large, to devise strategies to prevent such things in the future.
Doc, thank you so much for your time. And that was Dr. Sefaji Komla Agbali. He's a member of the Research Committee of Legon Center for Education Research and Policy. Now, away from that, we're taken to the Ashanti, the Western region, where residents of Sekendi, Takoradi, and motorists on the NY route in the metropolis have expressed frustration over a dilapidated stretch, which results in rampant accident and traffic tailbacks. Irama Smith, who is joining us live from Takoradi, reports that it's a vital route for international transshipment and internal traffic. Now, Irama, thank you so much for joining us. Now, talk to us about the traffic situation and the impact on the people.
Here in the Sekendi Takoradi metropolis, and behind me is part of the N1, which passes through here and then goes straight to Ivory Coast. But this particular stretch from the Nkrofo Junction to Kojokom going towards the Inchaban, that's towards the Shama district, is very problematic because of the huge loads that these trucks, which are doing transshipment, pass over these roads. There's always a challenge here. Huge potholes. And it becomes a challenge for them because they lose their balancing, and toppling is very natural here. This has become a perennial affair. Almost every week there's traffic here because a truck has broken down or there's been an accident. And residents here are not happy. This is part of the Big Push project. But they are calling for at least this stretch to be done for them so that it will ease traffic. there hasn't been any major rehabilitation on this stretch. Usually remedial works, and it doesn't last that much. So they want this repaired.
District Assembly, you know, tipper trucks, you know, any backhoe, any piloder, any grader, any water tanker, I want on omo de yede. Bra, baby, omo babu no.
What is the local assembly doing with the drip machines? The quarry companies can release some material to repair the section. Why must we spend 4 to 5 hours in this traffic?
I don't know what the district assembly are doing there.
And all this came about as a result of the road nature, which has deteriorated for some time now. So we need help to come and fix this particular area to prevent such accidents on the road.
Na adena kasa kesu bulu down or obrodo. It's a this is not the first time. Almost week be adams adibis.
We know this road has been awarded on contract. Can't the contractor undertake some remedial work to ease the situation?
Right, Irama, is there any hope of intervention for the people of Second D?
Bigger project take place. Right, so for now, it looks like they will have to manage with this situation because of the big push project. I'm just wondering, government will be willing to repair at least this stretch before the major works start. But you know there was a call on the district assembly, that's the Metropolitan Assembly, because the drip machinery is there and they believe that this can be repaired even before the bigger project take place.
And that was our Western Regional correspondent, Irama Smith, bringing us update on the Second D route there. But that brings us to the end of the midday news here on 3FM 92.7. For more news, please check our website at 3news.com. I am Enyonam Haligah. Business comes your way right now.
FM 92.7 Urban Lifestyle Radio Station.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to Business Daily on 3FM 92.7. Coming up, International Monetary Fund, IMF projects Ghana's debt to GDP ratio set to climb to 53% in 2026 despite post-restructuring gains. Also ahead, Guta Bank's new container charge cap says importers and exporters could save over 800 million cedis yearly as pressure mounts on shipping lines to comply by May 1st. I am Bismarck Ausa. We'll bring you details of our headlines and other stories shortly. Please stay. Thanks for your company. Now to the details. Ghana's debt sustainability outlook is facing renewed scrutiny as the International Monetary Fund, IMF, projects a rise in the country's debt to GDP ratio to 53% by the end of 2026, up from 45.3% in 2025, even after recent gains following debt restructuring. There is more in the following three business news desk report. We'll bring you that sound later. Now, Ghana's total public debt stock declined significantly at the end of 2025, driven by a stronger cedi, reduced borrowing costs, and improved fiscal discipline, even as government increased short-term domestic borrowing to build financial buffers. This is despite a rise in domestic borrowing. There is more in the following 3 Business News Desk report. Ghana's public debt stock declined sharply to 640.99 billion cedis, representing 45.3% of GDP at end December 2025, down from 726.7 billion cedis or 61.8% of GDP recorded in 2024. According to the March 2026 Monetary Policy Report by the Bank of Ghana, the improvement was driven by cedi appreciation, increased amortization, and tighter fiscal discipline. Domestic debt, however, rose from 309.8 billion cedis to 333.8 billion cedis, largely due to increased issuance of short-term instruments as government builds buffers to meet its obligations. External debt increased in foreign currency terms on the back of new disbursements, but in local currency terms, it declined significantly from 416.8 billion cedis to 307.2 billion cedis, reflecting exchange rate gains and principal repayments on Eurobonds and multilateral loans. The central bank says the overall decline in the debt stock also reflects prudent borrowing, reduced financing costs, and a stronger primary surplus. And that was a 3 Business News Desk report on Ghana's public debt declining sharply to 45.3% of GDP despite rise in domestic borrowing. Meanwhile, the March 2026 Monetary Policy Report by the Bank of Ghana revealed that total revenue and grants for 2025 stood at 224.883 billion cedis, representing 16.1% of gross domestic product. The outturn fell below the government's target of 229.949 billion cedis, equivalent to 16.4% of GDP. The domestic revenue, which accounted for the bulk of inflows, was recorded at 223.059 billion cedis, or 15.9% of GDP. This also missed the projected target of 227.275 billion cedis, representing 16.2% of GDP. The shortfall highlights ongoing challenges in revenue mobilization, despite efforts to strengthen domestic collection and reduce reliance on external support. Moving on, the Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing Company has disclosed that nearly 30% of gas cylinders presented for refurbishment under the circular or cylinder recirculation model are not fit for use. Management cautions that the continued use of these faulty cylinders in homes poses significant risks to lives and property. Speaking to journalists after a tour of the facility by members of Parliament's Energy Committee, the managing director of the company, Abdul Rahman Mankir, urged the National Petroleum Authority to ensure the full nationwide rollout of the policy to strengthen safety measures.
It has helped in bringing out cylinders that are not good from people's home to rust for refurbishment, and we continue to encourage full participation, and also we plead to them if they are able to expand it to other regions. Currently it is being run in Accra, Kumasi and Tema, and so if it is expanded to other regions, I mean, it is going to help a lot, especially in terms of keeping our cylinder safe. Very soon we are going to partner with NPA to do full-scale public education on the cylinder recirculation model. So when you look at the cylinders that come here for the refurbishment, they usually come in batches. Sometimes they come and about 30% of them that come are not good and they are not safe to go back into the market. And so if not because of the cylinder recirculation model, we will still have those cylinders sitting in people's homes, and that is jeopardizing safety.
Meanwhile, the Energy Committee of Parliament has, however, raised concern over delays by the Finance Ministry in granting financial clearance to the Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing Company to support its operations since the beginning of the year. The committee says the situation has left the company financially constrained, despite having several pending orders to fulfill. Let's listen to Chair of the Energy Committee of Parliament, Emmanuel Kwesi-Bedzra.
As certificate authorization or financial clearance, where the Ministry of Finance need to give them authorization to commence or to procure items. That has not come, and it is worrying that they've not received it today. We are in the second quarter, and so the committee will take it up because they have orders. They need to meet those orders. They have commitment, and that commitment has also not been fulfilled. And so we are appealing to the Minister for Finance to release their commitment authorization for them to work. Because, look, this is a self-income generating institution. You don't need to depend on any finances from anywhere. If we retool them and give them that certificate commitment, they would have bought their materials, they would have gone ahead with the things that they need to do.
Emmanuel Kwesi-Bedzra is chair of the Energy Select Committee of Parliament. Before we go, the Ghana Union of Traders Associations, GUTA, has thrown its full support behind the Ghana Shippers Authority's decision to cap the container administrative charge at 550 Ghana cedis per 20-foot equivalent unit, describing the move as a major breakthrough in reducing the high cost of doing business at the ports. GUTA says traders have long suffered from excessive and outdated charges imposed by shipping lines and their agents. In a press release, GUTA says importers and exporters paid an estimated 1.69 billion cedis in container administrative charges in 2024 alone. In a press release, GUTA says importers and exporters paid an estimated 1.69 billion cedis in container administrative charges in 2024 alone. We will bring you that story in our subsequent bulletins, and that brings us to the end of Business Daily on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck. Also, for more business stories, please check out our website 3news.com. Thanks for your company.